A very good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, wherever you're watching us live from. Hello, my name is Nishit Kotak. I'm here with the team from Hindu Academy, and welcome to today's live broadcast. So, we meet every Saturday at 2 o'clock, 2 o'clock UK time, and we meet for about 50 minutes. And the goal of this live Q&A session is basically to help answer any questions that you may have regarding the topic of Hinduism. So today, we're going to have a focused topic, which is around the question of, are festivals becoming parties? Now, what I will do is, perhaps I will share this video first, and then I'll come back and we'll do a Q&A session with the team here. We've got Manish Bhai, we've got Vijay Bhai here as well with me. So let me share this video first, and then we come back and discuss around it.
Nishit, I can't hear the voice.
True, it is true.
Do you think that festivals like Diwali and Holi have now become too centralized on the cultural, colorful aspects of the festival, and the meaning behind it has been lost? And if you think it has been lost, what methods would you suggest to try and centralize the meaning more into each festival?
Very true. It is true. Most of the festivals, not only Hinduism, all religions, like Christianity, Christmas, it has become a commercial enterprise. We all recognize it. It's become such a huge commercial hoo-ha. Everybody must buy everybody else a present, and the present must be suitable and must be of the same value, and all that. It's really turned into a very crass materialistic exercise. Same is true with most of the Hindu festivals. And one of the religious kind of ceremonies that I really criticize is the weddings. They really go wild, spend hundreds of thousands of pounds for one night. It's all wasted. They could have used the money in a better way. It's good to show off your money, but there are better ways of doing it. So same is true with these festivals. We do kind of go overboard and turn it into party time. And the idea of trying to recognize, realize the significance of the key spiritual aspect of that festival is lost. This is true. So how do we address the issue? This young man is asking, how do we address the issue through education? It's only a tool the world has got. Human beings say, education. So if somebody like him says, we are wasting so much time and money on Diwali, we could have perhaps spend less money with the fireworks we just blown away overnight, and spend at least half the money for fireworks and half the money for somebody who's struggling. Then, earthquake in Nepal, let's send half the money there and half the money for fireworks. I would say it's very, very mature way of looking at it. So readdressing the spiritual aspect to all the festivities, etc., we do in the name of religion is an important thing that we have to learn about or relearn about. And my intention through the media is to present this kind of more mature vision of religion or Hinduism to the Hindu masses in India as well as the UK.
Amazing. So there we have a very interesting topic that comes for our discussion today, especially seeing that we've just celebrated Dussehra and Vijay Dashmi. So to get started with this topic, let me ask my fellow colleagues here. We've got Vijay Bhai and Manish Bhai. Why are these festivals actually held in the Hindu sort of culture?
Vijay Bhai?
Okay, so there are many dimensions on why we do festivals. I mean, they're usually linked to things like a historical event. Sometimes they're linked to some geographical events, where different parts of the world, mainly India, for example. We also some seasonal events, like, we have Holi, which is a seasonal event like harvest time. And they all also linked to, many of them are linked to some mythological stories as well. Like, with Dussehra, we do the idea of the killing of Mahishasur. So the very many reasons, and all these are very good things in a way that because they remind us of God. Yeah, they kind of put more focus on our idea of worshiping the the divine. So the thing is that festivals are very important in our lives because of course we kind of pray every day, we do spiritual activities every day, but once in a while it's kind of nice to have a festival or a communal kind of activity that gives even more focus to what we do. So in that sense, festivals are very important because sometimes when you worship on your own, it's a good thing, but when you get everybody together and celebrate as a community, then it gives even more kind of focus, more enjoyment, and also you feel more connected to other divine, human beings. So in that sense, it's very good for festivals. So festivals are everywhere. I think not only as Jai mentioned in Hinduism, but also in the Christian tradition, the other religions they have festivals. So yes, festivals are very important in that sense. Yeah.
Yes. So my input to that is, human life is in a way sometimes a struggle, and festivals bring the color in that mundane life and help us enjoy and get the spiritual angle to the life as well. We celebrate festivals based on historical events like Janmashtami, Ram Navami, birth of Ram and Krishna. There is mythological events like Navratri. The Diwali is again celebration of victory of Ram. And we have festivals that enjoy the relationships as well. Raksha Bandhan, celebration of love between brother and sisters, and Guru Purnima, showing importance of a guru. So all these things try to bring in that spiritual angle in our lives and make our life more interesting. Festivals are very important.
Fabulous. So that brings me to the next question, which is, what are the main Hindu festivals that we celebrate?
Yeah. So I think by far the biggest one is Diwali, and I think for the other part in the northern part of India, they also the New Year the day after Diwali as well. But by and large, Diwali is by far the most important festival, not only for Hindus, you'd be surprised, but also for the other Indic traditions. In the Jain tradition, they believe that Mahavir achieved Nirvana on that day. Then you have also the Sikhs who I think celebrate something called the Bandi Chor Divas when the Guru Hargobind was freed from prison as well. So there are many angles to even the Buddhists celebrate as well for I think other reasons. So the idea is that that Diwali is very unique in India. All parts of India also deliver. Diwali I think is by far the biggest festival in that sense. Then you have other things like Mahashivratri. That's also very popular because even the Vaishnavas or other traditions of India, they say Shivratri because Shiva is like very important deity in Hinduism. So by and large, all of India would celebrate Shivratri as well. Shiva is another popular one. Then other festivals like Ganesh Chaturthi, it's very popular as well. Particularly in places like Maharashtra, where Ganesh is worshipped in large numbers. So Ganesh Chaturthi is also, by the way, when you see overseas, people celebrate all this stuff. And in South India, I think festival like Thaipusam or Kavadi linked to Lord Murugan, they are also very important for South India, and also the South Indian diaspora, the Tamil diaspora in parts of Malaysia, Mauritius. So by and large, they will celebrate the idea of Thaipusam, and that's also a very big festival. I think sometimes maybe North Indians, people from North India, don't even or who come from that kind of heritage, don't even know of those festivals. I think we should try and learn. They really serve a lot of pomp and glory as well. So in that sense, these are kind of the main festivals. Also, I think if you look at West Bengal state, Durga Puja is a very big thing. It's very amazing. I think there's some really sad issues at the moment in Bangladesh because violence put on Durga Puja. But in that part of the Bengal part of in West Bengal states, in that area, there's also the idea of mother goddess worship is very important. So depending, as I mentioned earlier, depending on geographical location, for historical reasons, you have different kind of festivals which are kind of, but also those are the main. Then I think also Ram Navami is the popular one as well. So this is, India is like a big, Hinduism is such vast, you can have a festival nearly every day for something or the other, right? Because it's such a broad, but these are by and large some of the big festivals. Manish, why? Add that to
I think nothing to add. I think you covered all of them. Janmashtami is another one, and Navratri just went, Vijayadashmi. I think we covered all of them probably.
The big ones, yeah.
Fantastic. So I'll just recap some of the ones that you spoke about. Some that maybe I know of. We got Bhogi, which is mainly celebrated in Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, that side, marking Sankranti festivals.
Yeah.
We've got Makar Sankranti, which is quite popular in India for the kite flying festival.
Mm.
We've got Vasant Panchami, which is also quite a popular festival. We've got Kavadi, which you mentioned. We've got Mahashivratri. We've got Holi. We've got Rang Panchami. We've got Vasant Navratri, Ram Navratri, Gudi Padwa. We've got many others. We've got Hanuman Jayanti. We've got Vat Savitri. We've got plenty. There's Rath Yatra and many things that we can enjoy throughout the year as we go along. So this brings me to the next question, which is out here in the Western countries, and maybe even back in India, how have festivals changed over the period of time as we move into the modern era? These festivals have been around for hundreds, maybe thousands of years, and they are deeply rooted in rituals and meaning. But then when we go to the Western countries, sometimes due to lack of availability of certain things, we may have to sort of work our way around the restrictions that we've got. But even in India, with all the facilities we have for these festivals, things are changing slowly. So what's your view on this, and how have festivals changed over the years?
So yes, I think festivals have changed over the years, no doubt. I think partly because there's a lot more prosperity now. So a lot of other activities have joined in. Because people like the idea that on festival days, they want to look their best. They want to spend money and buy gifts. And that also drives the whole economic activity. I mean, it's surprising that in India, when you see Diwali coming up, all the shopkeepers now stock up their stocks and they're hoping to make a lot of money in that time. So quite often it seems that, by the way, same in Christmas or any other festivals, quite often I think the whole narrative sometimes changes. It becomes a time when people want to be, as Jayba mentioned, more materialistic, to show off their wealth, to buy good clothes, ornaments. Now, while that's all well and good, we have to be very careful with the spiritual angle. In the olden times, it was, I would say, there was much more spiritual angle to it. The people who understand why they're in the festivals. And I know that when I was young, on the day of Navratri, we don't just go and pray in the temples, but for previous 7 days, every day we used to spend at least 2 hours in the temple doing bhajans, pujas, all kinds of stuff. And similarly, in any other festival, you actually do like a longer puja. But now I think things are changing in the sense that people are saying, oh, well, they don't want to do that, but they want to make it more diverse, so to say, and spend it in a more broad manner. Again, I said there's nothing wrong with that. But as long as any activity you do, you must have a spiritual angle to it, or somehow the other divert to a spiritual angle. Then I think it's a modern. It's good to have it modern in that sense. But otherwise, if it becomes more and materialistic, then we have to be careful. We don't have a spiritual angle, and that's the biggest concern I have in this day and age. That we will lose a spiritual dimension and kind of become more materialistic. Yeah, Manish, bye.
Sure, thank you, Vijay. So in sense that society is becoming more affluent, and I think we are more thinking and in a sense moving away from religion as well and questioning the religion. And sometimes we are as Hindus are not aware of the stories behind the festivals, so we lose the meaning of the festival and we try to do it mechanically, and in that sense then it sort of turns into a party. Navratri Garba becomes just a dance festival, and Diwali just becomes, makes lots of good to buy or make lots of the sweets and eat food with family and do lots of fireworks and forget about the spiritual angle. So that's tend to happen, and that is happening. We see it around us. And in olden days, I believe people there was people had limited resources, so they focused more on the spiritual angle, and they try to do best with the time. And now with the involvement of economic, affluency, the things are changing, and I think many people are now questioning the religion. So they love to enjoy the festival, so that will still happen, but the spiritual side of it is forgotten.
Fabulous. So, talking about festivals, with Navratri just finishing now, we are not very far away from the next big festival, which is Diwali, which is usually about 20 days away. And so my next question to you is that Diwali seems to be quite a commercial festival now, but one aspect that I really want to touch upon is the issue with fireworks. Now, I personally feel sometimes that yes, fireworks are great, and I have no issues with the louder fireworks. But what I'm saying is it a good thing to get to overdo on fireworks? I mean, I've seen some people like buy a crazy amount of fireworks, and then they're making all sorts of noise and pollution late into the night. What are your thoughts on this? Should we do this in moderation, or do you think it's okay to go all out and have a lot of fun?
Yeah, interesting question. I think, Nishit bhai, you'd be surprised that in India as well, many states actually banned fireworks. And that has caused a lot of issues. There are some Hindus who are saying that, look, by banning fireworks, it directly attacks on Hinduism. They want to sneak in other religions by trying to change our behavior. So other religions have to do whatever they want. We are not allowed to do this. So look, there are a couple of angles to the idea of fireworks. One is, of course, the idea of pollution, noise as well. So I think we should be careful not to disturb other people's kind of, other people's kind of activities by doing a lot of noise. So be careful on that. But the oneness of fireworks, if you do in moderation, is also very good, because how do children celebrate festivals? They want to do some fun activities, right? Like, crack, what do you call this, fire sprinklers they use to burn. So I think in moderation is good, because children are kind of excited that I'm celebrating Diwali, I get a chance to look at some fun things as well. For children, somehow when you do fireworks, if you look at fireworks, celebrating the coming of Ram. The point is, when you do fireworks, we lose the focus of why we're doing it. If we're just doing it for the fun sake, they will lose. But just look, Ram is coming back on this day. Lord Ram, the ideal, Adarsh Purushottam. If you emulate, we are celebrating his life, that he actually came back to his people after 14 years. And that's why we do fireworks. Then it's got a meaning to it. So we should attach some sort of a spiritual angle to any kind of activities we do. So I would say in moderation with not too much noise, then I think it's fine, because I know there's a pollution angle, as I mentioned, but we drive a lot of cars, we drive, we do a lot of other pollution. So it's a question of how do you balance the two out? So I wouldn't say that just stop it totally, because then fun part also goes. So you won't have some fun part, but also some seriousness as well. So it's a kind of a balance, Manish bhai.
Yes, I agree with Vijay bhai. So fireworks, overdoing it is, I think we should think carefully about. It's great to enjoy, and especially for children, to try to get them into that. And that fun of firework really makes the festival really more enjoyable. But then, you see many grown-up people, and they're doing so much firework, and you say, come on, what about the spiritual angle of it? Should you not focus on that? So I think for children, and to get them to enjoy, wonderful, so do that in moderation. But we have to look at the negative side of fireworks as well. The pollution it creates, and it can cause problems with children. Many children are now having asthma, and that can worsen during this time. So we should be enjoying, but also we need to make sure that we do not, we should be careful about the negative side, and we do not exaggerate that. I think
amazing. I agree. All things in moderation is fine. And then we have to be also mindful of the people around us, especially the pets. The pets get quite traumatized by the loud noises. They get frightened, and it's not a nice time for them. Right now, we talked about kids. We talked about enjoyment. So here is the thing. Some people have asked, why should the festivals not be enjoyed as a party? I mean, it seems to get the kids more involved. It seems to get people more involved in today's festivals. Otherwise, what happens is the festivals don't get attended.
Yes, that's true, Rishit Bhai, but if you don't have it, make it fun and enjoyable, then children don't come. And actually, you'd be surprised. I think many Hindus realize, even the temples, when you go there, on the Diwali day, they do little activities. They do drawing for children. They get them with little gifts, or at least give them some sweets, whatever. So it is already important. But I think sometimes parents do these activities, fun activities, but if they don't link it to a spiritual angle, and that's where I think we lose the part. So do all the activities, make them fun, whatever. But again, the idea is that in such a way that it makes them feel more spiritual or more closer to God. And that's the tricky bit. I think because most parents, I mean, we lose the angle as well. So you say, okay, we have to go, as Manish mentioned, mechanical, or we'll go to temple and then we'll have some food, we'll enjoy this, we'll go home and do fireworks. And okay, yes. But then when you try and ask them why, oh yeah, it's a fun activity. Then you lose that angle that you need to how to link the activity with the idea of being the divine, or again, to link it to God. And that's the tricky part. If you can achieve that, then I think it's wonderful. But Hindus love fun. It's even in the temples. If you have, I don't know if you ever go to some other place of worship or religious place of worship, they're very serious. They actually focus, like that. Hindus have always given more leeway. For children, they can be more, bit naughty, nobody minds. So again, the Hinduism has a leeway to celebrate and worship God in a broad manner. So it can accommodate all kinds of age and aptitude. So we should use that kind of liberal kind of leeway that we have, but also use it in a wise manner so that we link everybody to the idea of the divine. That's the tricky part we have to kind of achieve. Manish, bye.
Yeah, I agree with Vijay Bhai. So one thing that festivals do is bring people together. And in olden days, like Navratri, all the neighborhoods would come together. So you would interact with all these people around you, and that would make community stronger. And even today, this day and age, people would come together, celebrate festival, and there is that community feeling, which is very important. So it's great to, enjoy it and have that party, but do not forget the spiritual side of it, why we are celebrating. And yeah, that is the thing. Yeah, so nothing wrong with enjoying and having a party, but let's also focus on the spiritual side of it.
I must say, today it's a very lively crowd out there online. They've been really wonderful. They've asked some amazing questions. They've asked some really good comments, and we have good friends like Indu Day saying that why are we trying to just block Hindus from doing fireworks, and the rest of the world can do theirs during New Year's or whenever they win a big game, etc. All I'm saying is we're not saying stop. We're just saying use moderation and be mindful of the time when you burst the fireworks, because it could just inconvenience other people. That's it. Don't stop. We love to party. So we're going to carry on partying. There's no stop to the party. But coming to parties, then I'm going to talk about the biggest party the world has ever seen, or what we know as the Mahakumbh Mela. Is this truly the largest gathering as a festival anywhere around the world?
Oh, beyond doubt, it is one of the biggest gatherings. It's not actually new. It is very, very old tradition. I think if you read some of the works of Adi Shankara or the great saints 1,000 years ago, they've all been taking part in Kumbh Mela. So it's not a new festival. And it's an amazing festival. I mean, as I mentioned, all the Hindus get together on the river, on special points like Haridwar or the Triveni Sangam. I think now it's called Prayagraj, not Allahabad anymore. When they get together, Hindus in large numbers. I was in India at that time. I didn't visit, but I know that half of the village was empty. They'd all gone all the way across India to Uttar Pradesh to celebrate part of Kumbh Mela. And that is very, very important, because it gets all the Hindus together to each other one Hindu reaffirm the faith of the other Hindu. So helping worship, kind of celebrating these festivals together allows Hindus reinforce each other's beliefs. And that's a wonderful thing. It takes for over many days. also shows you the idea of the pluralistic nature of Hinduism, because at that festival, all different kind of aspects of Hinduism, all different kind of mutts, traditions of Hinduism come together all in one place. I mean, what more can you ask? Uniting all the different facets of Hinduism in one particular location. I think that's an amazing thing. So yes, it's massive. And the thing is, nowadays, because with modern technology, with kind of all the tools we have, we can make it much more organized, much more people friendly, and also the rivers are cleaned up from here. So all in all, it's a fantastic festival, and I would suggest. I haven't been there one yet, but I'm determined to go one of the major Mahakumbh Mela festival if I can. Manish bhai?
Yes, Kumbh Mela is the largest festival, religious festival in the world, and gathering of people as well. And it's wonderful to see so many people there. And there is a story behind it. Could you cover it, please, Vijay bhai? Story behind how Mela? What is the mythological story behind it?
Actually, I can't remember it. I remember it earlier, but I can't remember now. But I know that we have many places we go to. The main place is actually Allahabad, Haridwar. Then you have Omkareshwar. So it's about 4 or 5 major places. We have it every 4 years. I think the one in Allahabad is the biggest, by far the biggest festival. The story will come back to me. It doesn't come back to me immediately. But yes,
Okay,
there's a mythical story. Yeah.
Okay, I think it's the story revolves around the Srimad Bhagavatam story of this churning of the ocean. So when they churned the ocean, I think Amrit came out, and that
Some of the drops, yes.
drops of Amrit fell in these 4 places, and
correct.
that's
Yeah. That's now I remember it. That's I think, but there are many stories. That's one of the main stories. Yes, that some of the Amrut dripped out to these 4 places, places of nectar. Correct. Yeah. Yes.
Yes, so
Fabulous.
it is believed that if you have that, your bath in that place, in those places, you hopefully remove all your sins and go to heaven. So that's the idea, but spiritual idea behind it is, what is the spiritual idea behind it?
Well, the spiritual idea is that basically, again, you link yourself to nature, because one thing in Hinduism we have is the idea we always use nature to link ourselves to divine. Because don't forget, in Hinduism, everything is divine. And the idea is that how does the many link to the one? So all the Hindus coming together is to link them together, right? And link to some divine idea. And remember, Mother Ganga or the rivers of India, the seen as very spiritual, because they actually, these are the waters that nourish people. I mean, imagine the idea of River Ganga. It kind of sustains over 300 million people in the entire Gangetic basin. So Hindus have always revered the life-giving force to us as something divine, not just something that given to by go to us to consume in our bounty. No. Nature is part and parcel of us and is to be revered and respected. And the idea in this river to do these festivals has got a very spiritual angle, because again, we use water in every festival. Varun Dev in the weddings, any festival we use that, and that's so unique in Hinduism. And sometimes it's a pity that we are losing that idea, because now we just see water as water. Then we just drink it, something divine. But all these idea of divinity of everything is reinforced in this large festival. So amazing idea, amazing to drive us to become more spiritual. Because spiritually means not only you are spiritual, but it's divine in everything else. So yeah, very interesting stuff. Yeah.
Fabulous. We have a couple of viewer questions. The first one is, what is the significance of holding a fast in some of the festivals?
Look, fast is very important. Fast is not new. It's a kind of very ancient tradition, like Mahashivratri. People who night vigil fast through the night. Also in Kavadi, fasting. The idea is that for all Hindus, it's a form of a sacrifice. Where do you give something smaller for something higher? The idea is, we tend to focus. Again, eating just food is something that is very part and parcel of body. So disciplining yourself for one day, look, I will not eat, or I will not eat food, but I will use all the energy I get from my fasting and focus it towards God. And that's the whole idea. Why do it's discipline, right? Fasting discipline. Anything you do, endeavor to sacrifice, give up something for something higher is sacrifice. And fast is kind of a sacrifice. So basically giving up something so that you achieve something higher. And that's significant of fast. But because with food is so endearing. I mean, I love savories. And every time I see them, if I pass a shop, my mouth starts watering. I said, no, for one day, I will not think about it. I will not, all my energy will focus on to worshiping God. And that's, I think, an amazing story. It's the kind of a discipline. That's the main reason why we fast. And please the deity as well. Manish, bye.
Agree with Vijay Bhai, and just there's additional benefit, health benefits that if we fast, then that should have hopefully help our body as well, because we eat so many things, and things can get blocked up in stomach, and hopefully get rest, and that gets cleared. So there is a health benefit to fast as well. So just wanted to add that.
Super. The next question we have from a viewer is, how do the phases or the cycle of the moon determine the date of Diwali? So, we work on a lunar calendar.
Yes. Okay, this is a very interesting topic. Actually, if you read the topic, it's amazing stuff. One thing by the way, it's actually more than lunar calendar. The Indian calendar is actually called astral calendar. They're based on the stars. But because the moon is more visible, they link the stars to the moon. Because think about it, every 3 years, have you noticed we have one extra month in Diwali? Why do we have that extra month? Have anybody wondered why? Because the idea is that the stars misalign, so they had extra months to remain in line with the stars. And the stars actually work on the sun solar cycle. So you'd be surprised in Hinduism, by keeping this, adding the extra month, we keep it in line with the seasons, in line with the, with the orbit of the earth around the sun. But how do this? Because we look at the stars. The stars misalign, then we say, okay, add one extra month. But as I mentioned, that because the moon is more visible, we link it to the moon because people can see the moon. So, okay, now it's new moon. But every many years, I think after a few hundred years, they might have 2 extra months to keep in line with the stars. And when we do that, we actually keep in line with the solar cycle. Interesting kind of angle to it is in some calendars, like say in the Islamic calendar they don't have the extra month. So they actually come every year, they come forward. And there's no link to the cycles. But that, I guess, is again geographical in that area where they kind of develop. But in India, the idea of this, all calendars by and large are astral, means of the stars. So that's how it's linked. So although it's New Year on the moon cycle, because it's visible, ultimately it's linked to the stars. Yeah. Manish, bhai?
Yes, I think wonderful explanation by Vijay. But I just wanted to add that the one to focus on God and spirituality. But yes, it's well explained by Vijay, and nothing more to add. Nisit bhai, back to you, or shall I?
Fabulous. So I think we're going to wrap up this session for the festival's questions. We've had a really amazing set of questions. People have been interacting very well, contributing very well. Thank you so very much for that. Now we're going to move on to the general questions that people have been asking. I'm going to start with the first question that I received today. And this is a question from Visagan Arud Silvan. And he's saying, how does one deal with mental illness related to religion?
Okay, a very good question. We have to be very careful. This is one thing that Jay has mentioned again and again in his videos over so many years, that religion has to be rational. If it defies rational faculty, then chuck it away. I know it sounds really hard because, oh, no. I must believe in the scriptures word for word, even if it doesn't make sense, because otherwise, I will not be religious anymore. No. Remember one thing, the Indic faiths, all Indic faiths are not religion of the book. Unlike the Abrahamic faiths, although we have very many scriptures, vast amount of scriptures, amazing scriptures like the Gita, yet Hinduism is not a religion of the book. It is a religion of experience. They are an experiential religion. So always remember, sometimes what can happen is we can go so deep into this idea of, some mythological beliefs, and then we start believing in it. Sometimes we actually can also get idea of mental condition. Sometimes I know I've seen people who insist on something and say, no, this is how it's supposed to be. Has this person really lost his rational thought? So we have to be very careful. Religion is important for us. It must be rational. Otherwise, you can have all kinds of issues, and mental illness is just one of them. So if you have that, then I think bring the person to real life. Why? That's why it's important in Hinduism that as five we celebrate festivals, interact with people, so you get new ideas, broader ideas. So you always remain on firm footing. Otherwise, you will lose the true nature of spirituality. Of course, mental illness come in many different ways. They actually, in many cases, it actually helps you if if you're in depression or whatever. Religion can be a source of strength. So we have to be very careful how we see religion, how we worship, and how we progress spiritually. That is very important. Yeah. Manish bhai, anything to add?
Agree with Vijay bhai. So yes, we should not lose focus on rationality. Religion does not say you lose focus and just accept whatever is written or said to you. And if you are, you need some guidance on that, and hopefully you can find someone to guide you on that. So, or try to, find guidance and not just believe on certain things, and just stay focused and use rationality. That's all I can add. Nothing more to add on that.
Yeah.
Fabulous. So before we move forward with the rest of the questions, I just want to point out some of the resources that are available, because I've seen some questions. I'm just pointing this out to sort of answer some of the things people have asked. One resource we have at Hindu Academy is our website, hindu-academy.com. So hindu-academy.com. Over here, you will find plenty of resources, including how to sign up for the Hinduism ebook. We've got 2 books for you. You can also join us on our free e-learning course by clicking here. And there's a variety of other things that you will find on this website. So please do go to hindu-academy.com. Also, our Basics of Hinduism course is going along nicely. We're now at almost 7,400. My goal is 10,000. So help me share this website with your friends and family. Let them also join in on the course. It's amazing. And then finally, we've got our Hindu Academy website a page on YouTube. And over here, we've got plenty of playlists, which will help you to get started with everything from basics, intermediate to advanced Hinduism topics. And I would encourage you to come here and look at our videos. If you're here, then please do remember to like and subscribe. And if you hit the bell notification, you'll be notified of the next uploads we do, because we do upload regularly every week. And so you'll be notified of the latest going on the channel. Now, Vijay bhai, Manish bhai, the next few questions, because I want to try and attempt to make as many of these questions go through. If we can do like a rapid fire kind of one, then I think we'll get through them, because there are quite a few now. So the next question actually I have is from Sujay Shrestha. And the question is, are we reborn as humans, or do we change the species? And also, is there anything in particular one can do to gain a human birth again in the next life? Or is it just something at random?
Okay, quickly to answer that one. It's very difficult to have a non-human birth if you're human already, because the aspirations of a human being. So the characteristics you have are so, it makes you aware why the human avatar is very important. So most likely you're reborn, unless you're an extreme brute who likes to be a very violent person, then you might be born a lower animal. Otherwise, it's immensely difficult to drop down. You always go higher. And the only way to get a better avatar next time is simple, do good karma. And that's it, and move God-centered karma, and then you move to a better life. Yeah, in short. Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, so the next one is, according to Hinduism, how did everything start? And this is a question from Review TV.
Okay, it's a very, very large question. But I would say that the most popular verse we have on the idea of how everything started is on the Nasadiya Shukta. But the Nasadiya Shukta says that actually the world happens spontaneously. So it just comes and it runs for a while. It becomes like they call it vikas, and then it becomes sankocha. It goes into nothingness again. So in by and large, we have this idea of science from singularity, everything happened, and then we go singularity, it just goes. That's why I think people like Shankara say that actually the whole world is an illusion. Ultimately, only the idea of the soul is truly transcends. Remember one thing in Hinduism, our soul, Atman, transcends space, time, and causation. Why? Because space, time, and causation are of the universe. They don't transcend the universe. Only when the universe is active, we have space, time, and causation. Not there, you transcend it. So for us, it's spontaneous. It just happens. So you can never ask the question, who created the universe? Who created, if you say God created the universe, who created God? Because to create, you need space and time. So creation can only happen in the universe, not beyond that. So now this is very clear. We can never say for sure how it happened, but it happens spontaneously. And then it just kind of goes. That's the idea behind that. Yeah. Tricky question. Yeah. It's a big topic. I won't go through in more detail. Yeah.
Manish, I'm going to ask you this other question. So we have a 16-year-old science student who's asked this question. And the student says that I'm reading Shankara's texts, but in my mind, I still have doubts because I just believe also in science and Advaita. And I don't want to live in contradiction. Can you help me figure out what's the best for me?
So yes, science and Advaita is a great principle, but it's very hard to understand and get grips on it. So I would suggest you listen to lectures of Swami Sarvapriyananda, who's exploring some of the ideas in much more detail, and hopefully that will help. But don't accept things on just because it's written in the scriptures or Sankara said it. Do you use your rationality and reason it out and ask, someone like Swami Sarvapriyananda if you have doubts. You could ask us as well. We can try and answer it as well.
Fabulous. I think there's a rise of feeling in people because I am seeing in the comments area people saying, please let's not call it India, we call it Bharat. Please don't call it Hinduism, let's call it Sanatan Dharma. And it's all right. I agree with you all. It's just that for the point of reference, for the ease of people, because we have a channel that is viewed by a lot of international people, they may not understand all the language changes so fast. So we're just going to slowly bring in the changes. It will happen over a period of time, I'm sure. But yeah, it's very nice to see that uprising of, belonging to the motherland, let's put it that way. So another question we have is, where would one find a copy of the Vedas and Puranas in ebook format? Now, before you answer that, I'm going to ask you another add-on question on that. Do you think they are relevant in today's time and place where we are?
Okay, a couple of things here. So, as I said, Hinduism is not a religion of the book. I mean, if you look at the Vedas are the experience of many rishis, and we're lucky to have the experiences. It's an amazing stuff. The question is, how are you going to use that knowledge to experience God for yourself? And that's the most important part about it. So I think the Puranas and the various scriptures we should take the stuff that actually help us to spiritually. Because look, it's very vast. I'll be honest with you, some of the Vedas, like the Atharva Veda, has good ideas of dark arts. Some of the mantras are seen as like curses or, how to achieve immense powers. All these are there. So in effect, it's already documented from experience. Now, how that they experience stuff and how they put it down is, of course, ancients have done that. They should have done them on their own best way they could for society they lived in, not necessarily for us. So we have to understand that in the modern context and use the material we have for us. Now in Puranic, some of the stories in Puranic, they actually the world full of moral kind of angle. But please don't take it literally. Some of the stories are like, they defy the laws of science. So don't remember very carefully. Take the moral aspects of it. But regarding where you can find them, I know they're all online. But as an ebook, I'm not sure of that. I don't know, Manishba, would you know if there's anybody with the ebook, maybe from the Advaita Ashram or somewhere? But they're all online and there's no copyright. You can actually just kind of print them for your personal use. So they're available in the internet, but not as ebook. I'm not aware of that. Manishba.
Fantastic. Okay, so we'll crack on with this rapid fire format. I like it. We're getting through a good number of questions. So the next question we have was from somebody saying that in order for us to understand these older texts, which are written in Sanskrit, is there a way we can have a Sanskrit course so they can use that to sort of learn Sanskrit, and then read the text so that they don't lose things in translation. A, I think it's a very difficult language to learn, but B, let me just share something that we already have in place for you. And this is on our Hinduism e-learning course. One of the courses is the basics of Sanskrit. So you are free to use this. We already have around almost 900 people enrolled onto that course. And you can learn the basics of Sanskrit there yourself as a point of starting. But like it has been pointed out, YouTube is a great resource to use as well. So simply just head over to YouTube and you will find lots of content that you can use. Now we come into some very interesting questions. So one of the questions we have here is from Rahul, and he's asked two questions. What is dharma and how does one follow it?
Okay, I'll try because dharma is a very rich word in meaning. There is no English translation as such. But you know, as I said, as Nishit just mentioned, we shouldn't be using word like Hinduism. And you're right, because Hindus don't follow religion, they follow dharma. As I say, Bodha dharma, Jain dharma, this is Sanatan dharma. We never say, you know, Hindu religion or Buddhism, because the word religion is the idea of a theos, you know, guy sitting in a heaven who's giving you orders and commanding you to do things. So it's not that. Ours is dharma. So dharma is very rich in meaning. I would give short phrase of one meaning of dharma is righteous living. Another meaning of dharma is doing your duty. Third meaning of dharma is the innermost nature of all things. Hindus believe everything is a dharma. Dharma of a river is to flow and nourish you. Dharma of a mountain is to ensure the water is captured on the rivers so it can nourish you again, give you glaciers. In effect, all animals have got some sort of a dharma. What is the innate? What is our dharma? Our dharma is to be divine and try to discover the divinity in us. That's our dharma. So how do you follow your dharma? It's basically, look, every action you do, karma action you do with good intent to have a good benefit for not only you, society at large, and use the knowledge you have, the tools you have. If you're a doctor, use the knowledge to make people better. If you're a carpenter, makes the best furniture. Then in effect, you're following your dharma. That's the idea. And live righteously, that's important. So dharma is all-encompassing word. That's why dharma makes more sense than just saying believing in something, because believing in something is just, you know, following something blindly. But dharma is much more powerful. It's all-encompassing. Everything, the way you live, righteous living, doing your duty, respecting everything is divine. Everything is dharma. Hence the word Sanatan Dharma. I know it's much more powerful. As Nishit mentioned, we are stuck with Hinduism because of a broad audience we have. But very, very good point. But the topic of dharma can take ages to discuss. So that's in short I'll mention. Yeah.
Fabulous. Manish, one for you. It's from Vidurshan. And the question is, would you be able to throw some light on Shaiva Siddhanta?
I'm not sure if I know Saiva Siddhanta, but one thing I love about Siva tradition is Sivoham, Sivoham. They can say, I am Siva. So as Vijay Bhai was saying about Dharma, the journey of Dharma is to find out who we are and how we are related to this world. And Saiva Siddhanta, hopefully the Seva is saying, tradition says, I am Siva. So it's that discovery, self-discovery and experiencing of that is a Saiva Siddhanta for me. Vijay Bhai can add more on that, please.
Just briefly on that, I think Shaiva Siddhanta is today more popular in South India, but at one time it was all over India, even in Kashmir as well. But as Manish mentioned, idea is that if you ultimately the idea of you having Shiva inside you, so I think this part of grace, the grace of Shiva, makes you one with him, merge with him as well. So as mentioned, Shivoham. So I think that's the idea. I know there's a lot more work on that. There's a lot of scriptures in South India. I think the Agama literature also covers that. So this is a very big topic, I think. But the main issue, again, is with Shiva. And Siddhanta means, the word Siddhanta is very important. Siddhanta is like a treatise, like some sort of canonical text, which gives you instruction on how to achieve a particular goal, spiritual goal in the life. So Saiva Siddhanta means how to use the ideas of Shiva to make you spiritual and become one with Shiva. That's in short.
Wonderful. So the next question we've got is from HP. And this question is, I think, quite an interesting one. So the entire world has gone through a troubled period for the past 18, 20 months so far. And one of the things it has done is cause a lot of people anxiety and fear. So the question today was how to deal with anxiety and fear of the future.
Good question. And actually, you'd be surprised. It's not only HP, but everyone has that to some extent or the other. You watch the news and you fear, what's the future? What's the future? Where's the world going to? You have climate change, you have pollution, you have shortages, yes? So all this kind of creates, how do you tackle that? Now, I would say that one of the best ways to live for the moment and also not have desires. If you have desires, they kind of look, oh, what am I going to be in the future? We'll have a big house, we'll have this, we'll have a drive a car. I think we have to be, first of all, be content. Contentment is the biggest way, I think, to overcome. I'm not a psychologist, but contentment is what you have and make do with what you have in a happy manner and a content manner. I guess that would be one of the main goals. But of course, the other key goal is the idea of spirituality. By and large, people who are spiritual tend to not have these ideas. They have a goal of inward looking, not outward looking to material life, inward looking. They say, look, over many lifetimes, I want to progress spiritually. And look inward. If you look at inward, then hopefully, by and large, the idea of fear or anxiety you have for the future, you say, that's not important anymore. My spiritual is far more important. Whatever tools I have, I will use it for my spiritual benefit. That would be the, I guess, the way to go. That's from my angle, but I accept that there are many answers to this question. Yeah.
Can I just add something to it? So if you are, say, a Dvaitist, then you can say, I am the spirit. So there's nothing to fear. I am that. And that should empower you and, get you focused and try to, if you try to keep remembering that, then say, that is nothing to worry about. I am everywhere and that is the goal. And if you are, say, Dvaitist, you believe in, Ram or Krishna or Mother Goddess, then say, I am, devotee of this deity. I have nothing to worry about. The deity will take care of me. And if we have this firm belief, then I think that will hopefully help us when we are in fearful and say, okay, we will sort it out. The God is with me, or the God is within me, and that will help me sort things out. So there's nothing to worry about, hopefully.
Fabulous. So we have another question from Koteswara Rao. And before I ask the question, I'm going to put it into a bit of context. So here in the UK, yesterday, sadly, one of the Conservative MPs, Sir David Amess, was actually stabbed and he passed away. And the person who has been apprehended for this is a 25-year-old suspect. And it is said to be a terrorist-related incident. Now, the question from Koteswara is, and our thoughts and prayers are with the family of the deceased. But the question was this: what does Hinduism say about religious harmony, tolerance towards other religious communities?
Okay, Hinduism is very lucky because in India we don't have one overall commanding enforced religious belief. We never had that, and I think that is one of the greatest assets we have in Hinduism. Because if you look at the history of a lot of the other faiths, they've not only forcefully conquered other religions, they've also condemned them to eternity fire, eternal hellfire. Now that is just crazy. I mean, what God in his almighty mercy would ever send somebody to hellfire? As a matter, if you don't believe, then he should have more mercy on you. Oh, poor child, he doesn't even know me. But no, but Hindus are very lucky. The one thing we have to be very careful, I've seen this in many interfaith dialogues I've gone to, they keep on using the word tolerance. Now, tolerance, I must say, is a bit insulting. It's saying that, I don't like you, but I'll let you live. No, the word should be acceptance. And Hindus accept that we accept that all Hindus, all humanity are trying to go on the path to spirituality in their own way, based on own aptitude, age, tradition, background, geography. So all these aspects play a part in your idea to progress spiritually. So the man living in the Amazon jungle, deep in the Amazon, he's trying to progress spiritually from the tools he has, understanding he has. And the one living in the greatest scientific mind is the same. And they're both equally valid. If you can't accept that, then I think you're trying to say that how can you say that one is right, one medicine is right for everybody? It doesn't work that way. So we have Hinduism believes in acceptance. Of course, we don't believe that you can accept really some murderous cult, right, or crazy people. No, no. But we accept there are very many ways to spirituality. So the word is acceptance, not even tolerance. Yeah.
Amazing. And that's, I think, the way the world should be. Give each person the space to do what they want without infringing on their rights. Anyway, we have another question, which is from Prashant Tripathi. And this question is a little bit relevant because we've got Diwali coming up. The question is, why do some historians not believe in the Ram Setu bridge when there is some proof of a structure?
Okay, interesting question. The reason is this, because a lot of people who are like of scientific mind, they know that it is proven now that even if you look at, say, in Tamil Nadu coast or flying coast, we know that there are structures in the sea as far as I think a couple of meters deep, which shows us that actually the sea level was much more lower at one time, 10,000 years ago was much more lower. And actually, if you look at the maps of the world, Sri Lanka and India was actually one country. It wasn't a separate country. If you look at it carefully, so that area of Ram Setu is a shallow area, and some people believe that the waves from both sides have been building sediment, so it creates a bridge. But yes, it is true that people have seen a lot of evidence of rocks and pebbles as well. And there's some people of rational mind, they believe that actually those rocks are put in when the sea was very shallow to walk across the river, across the gap in Sri Lanka. So I think that's the reason why they don't accept that. But Ram Setu, I know, is a question of belief at the moment. So if you believe in Ram Setu, then please go ahead. If you strongly believe, then it's okay. But that's why many people, from historical reasons or the Ice Age understanding cycles, they don't believe that Ram Setu was human. It was already there because of the fact that it was one land at that time. You can check scientific, time maps in internet. You will see that India was much bigger, by the way. I think almost 15-20% bigger. Like Dwarika was quite deep in. They have proof that Dwarika was a city. It's now very deep actually. If you go to Dwarka Ocean, I believe people are not allowed to go and excavate because it's a sensitive military area. But that just shows how much lower the sea was at one time, and all the ice was packed up in the ice poles, and all this now melted, and now it's getting worse even. So anyway, that's the reason why some people do not accept that. Yeah. Okay.
Now, I have one question from Ajay, and this seems to be directed at all three of us. And he says he would like to know what was Jay Bhai's view, or what was his idea on this Hindu Academy, when he was no longer going to be around to push it himself. What was his mission or vision, or what did he see this Hindu Academy is going to be?
There's a lot to answer there. But I would say one thing. Jay Bhai realized one thing, that for the modern youth of India and for all over the world, religion has to be a living and has to progress. And his main was to how to bring Hinduism, the amazing gems we have, some very ancient gems of Hinduism, the idea of pluralism, the great experiences that we have had through many rishis, and the modern ones too. How do we bring Hinduism into a modern world where people think rationally, people are more scientifically minded? How do we make sure religion, basically Hinduism for the next coming millennia? That was his goal, to set the roots for that. And it's our job now, not only us, but all the viewers who have the same ideas of presenting Hinduism in a modern fashion, rational fashion, and yet realize that we don't have divinity and that we are spiritual beings. So basic ideas of spiritual ideas, divinity in us, how do we bring them into the modern world? We live in a world which is very different from 50 years ago, a huge change, but if we don't move around as anything as archaic, will eventually die. I'll give you an example. Egyptian civilization lasted for 3,000 years, it's gone. Mayan gone. And the reason why Hinduism is lasting for the last 8,000 years, or even far more than that, because we understand that spiritual message has to be refreshed. This is the modern times, and the modern kind of, as humanity evolves, we have to evolve with the times. And that was one of the main ideas of Jay Bhai, a rational, modern aspect of Hinduism. Manish Bhai, anything to add on that? Very big question.
Yes, so I worked last couple of years of his life with him, and what I understood, he was very keen to his work to progress and reach to maximum people as possible. And that's why he was very keen on to explore new ideas, go on to, new tools like TikTok or anything that would take the message across. He was very keen on and working with him. I saw that. And also, what we saw in the last few days is we did try to do question and answer with Vijay Bhai and Sita Ben answering the questions. And we did that with him around as well. So I think that he wanted us to carry on the way we are doing now, and just keep going and just carry on his mission. And I think that's what we are trying to do here.
Yes, in fact, it's very rare to find somebody with such passion, so much vigor and zeal and zest. He's got such a clear vision of what he wants to get out there, and which is simply to help the modern youth to understand Hinduism in a way that is palatable to them, but without diluting the whole rationale behind it. So yeah, definitely something that we are going to attempt to keep on progressing. It's always with the help of viewers like yourselves who help us by contributing so many questions and comments, etc., and help us give us some direction into where these live broadcasts go. The next question, so we've got a few more, we might overrun a few minutes. The next question is from Oliver Wells, and the question was, did Brahma write the Vedas? Now, Vijay Bhai, you touched upon this very briefly.
Yeah. Okay, so I think not many Hindus, some Hindus believe Brahma or the Vedas, but what Brahma himself is knowledge. So it's also Vedas in the sense that his knowledge is what comes in the Vedas, yes? So that's the idea behind it. So Brahma, I think, to the Vedas, the knowledge, but not seen as a writer, because the ideas Vedas are passed orally for hundreds of years. It's only recently that I would say 2000 BC they actually documented by the great Brahmanica schools. So in that sense, they're written all physically by the schools of different Vedic schools. But the knowledge of the Vedas is linked to Brahma because Brahma himself is knowledge. So I think we have to try to keep the distinction. Yeah.
Fabulous. Manish Bhai, I have a question from Prashant Tripathi. The question is, what is Gotra?
I think Gotra is related to the profession that people's forefathers were doing, which no longer is relevant because now we are changing jobs and people are doing different jobs in their same life. So maybe Vijay Bhai can add more onto it if he knows.
Yeah, so I think Gotra it's been around. It's disappearing slowly, but Gotra is in some communities very strong. Gotra is basically your identity in the sense that which family tree or lineage you come from. I think in the Brahmins it's still far more important. And the rules like you can't marry the same Gotra, whatever. But it goes down to clan as well. Like I'm seen as my surname is Patel, but Hirani, I can't marry. That's not like Gotra, but it's similar. But the Gotra system has always been around as seen as a lineage of a tree. That's what Gotra is. And I think even I believe in some Punjabi communities also very strong, I think. But by and large, as Manisha mentioned, it's kind of disappearing slowly. So there's some benefits of Gotra in the sense that we keep the idea of, not mixing of genes. That's one of the ideas. But the idea was family, preserve the knowledge of a family tree. But it's not that the idea. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's about preserving the lineage as well. Yeah. A few more questions. Why? So Nikhil Mirkute is asking how people in India have stopped praying to, say, Indra and similar gods and beginning to pray to gods like Lord Vishnu, Lord Shiva. So there's a shift from, like, I don't know, I think he means to say there's a shift towards like more centralized or more popular deities.
Very true, yes. Actually, the first verse you see in the Rig Veda, Agni Mite Purohita, I bow to Agni. And then Indra, Agni god comes, Indra is thunder. In the earliest man, that's why Hinduism is so beautiful. We can link the beginning of Hinduism to the earliest man who are in shamanism beliefs, when man was just coming out, from Africa, so to say. Worshipping of the gods of nature was very important because they want to have order in their life. They don't want to have thunder coming on them. They don't want to have problems with water. They want to have rains. So the idea is worship those gods. But as humanity progresses, some other gods like Vishnu, the idea of attracting to the one who attracts, became more popular. Lord Shiva. This Vishnu and Shiva are much more broader gods. The kind of things that depict like Vishnu with his avatars comes the idea of morality, idea of dharma. So these ideas became much, much more powerful as humans settled down into big cities and civilizations, became advanced, became sculptors, started building temples. So these are idea of gods which are based on the idea of dharma, inner looking, which are much more broader in the way you approach them, became more popular. That's why I think Lord Shiva and Vishnu are more popular. Just in short answer, yeah.
Fabulous. So Jats for YouTube, who's been a regular viewer for a while now, has got a question saying that, does physical knowledge from books, scriptures, and language itself distance you from self-realization or recognizing yourself as part of the divine?
A very, very good question. I'll tell you why, because even the Mundak Upanishad itself says this, the Upanishad, which is the part of the Vedas, yeah. He says a very famous verse. He says, Nayamatma pravachena labhyo na medaya na bahuna shrutena. No reading of the scriptures, not listening to sermons, okay, or not even reading up sermons, scriptures, and intellect. Not even intellect will give you the reason of self. So books are by and large very important. They give you guidance, but if they confuse you and make you lost in your path, then it's not the best. Remember, as I mentioned earlier, Hinduism is not a religion of the book. Neither are all the Indic faiths. The religion of experiential. Even the most illiterate person, if his calling comes for the divine, he will achieve moksha. A lot of our great, what do you call them? Rishis of India, the ones who are divine people, Ramakrishna Paramahansa, so many others, they did not need books. Mirabai doesn't need the book. God lives in her. So yes, they're important, but it can't just be an exercise of mental gymnastics. If you do that, then you have lost the plot. So I like that question very much, because don't think that's just the books, reading the books, that you will get moksha. No, you will not. And don't ever be with somebody who doesn't read books and who just does bhakti and in the mandir like our grannies. Never ever put it down, because they might get moksha before us. Be careful. Yeah. So very important question. Yeah. So books are important only if they help you towards achieving your goals to moksha.
Amazing. We have one question from Sairaj Anavekar. And the question is the concept of Swayambhu idols a reality or just a myth? So for example, referring to the lingams, like the ice lingam at Amarnath cave, or any other thing that has sort of self-manifested. Do you think it's a reality or just a myth?
Okay, the idea of Swayambhu, which is basically self-born, nothing created, it just came out of nothing, it just spontaneously happened. That's what Swayambhu really means. And that's why we see, I think, God like Brahma is in a Swayambhu, who nobody gives him birth in real sense. Okay, we say it comes Nabi, whatever, but he's self-born. So it is believed that in Hinduism, many objects are seen as Swayambhu. And there's nothing wrong if you want to believe in that idea. But I think it becomes a myth if you link so many stories to it. You say, oh, Swayambhu happened, or because so and so God did this, and there was a magical thing there. If just as an activity that happens spontaneously, it just comes up, and you see the divinity in the idea, because look, the nature, the beauty of nature, there's a lot of divinity in nature. And anything that comes up in nature, if you see the divine in that, automatically shows how spiritual you are. The rivers, trees, any object you see. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like we see people from Australia believing the red rock. There's nothing wrong. Hindus encourage the idea to see the divine in any unique object, it just comes up. So Swayambhu in that sense, as an idol, okay, see the divine, but don't get stuck in the idol itself. Use that magic, that natural phenomena to link you to the divine. Then it's worth it. Not stuck into the object itself. Yeah, that's what I can add.
Fabulous. So it's been almost 1 hour and 10 minutes into the broadcast. We've overrun a little bit. We've missed Sita Ben on the call today, but I just want to take a moment to thank and congratulate everybody who's been, contributing so fabulously. Today's session has been really, really interesting. I've learned a lot of new things. I've enjoyed, posing your questions to our team here, ably answered by Manish Bhai and Vijay Bhai. Thank you guys for doing a super job at answering these questions. And I just want to say, we will see you next week on Saturday, 2 o'clock at UK time. And before I close off, let me just close with a quote for the day. Today's quote from Swami Vivekananda: is like this. All the powers in the universe are already ours. It is we who have put our hands before our eyes and cry that it is dark. So what it means is just, go out there, get things done, don't worry about it. And we wish you a great week ahead and see you next week on Saturday again. Bye-bye for now.